will pay a fledgling defender.
Nice.
2 mythium. And a little forced interrupt. When this wounds an attacking follower, gain 3 mythium, defeat this. So the fledgling defender will die, but will get me 3 mythium. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good.
When she blocks. And you've actually hit on 2 interesting thematic choices. One, fledgling defender is a she, not a he.
I'm sorry.
And 2, we really thought long and hard about which language to use, like destroy, die. We went with defeated.
Yeah.
And this is to indicate that all of them could come back to fight another day. So. And I did promise you spreadsheets. I'm trying to find one last spreadsheet, which I know will be interesting.
I am so looking forward to the part afterwards. Yeah.
But I just don't remember where I put it.
You can pick, in Infinite Nutshell says, you can pick the talk about literature action or the play Worldbreakers action. And I think for this round, I will choose play Worldbreakers. My second action will maybe be talk about spreadsheets, and I will, we have to choose the timing for talk about literature a little bit better.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I found a bunch of spreadsheets. Hopefully none of them are too embarrassing.
Very well.
So here we are.
Here we are.
In the I think you mentioned... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, here we are in the Worldbreakers tabletop simulator version of the game, and it is the dual version. So we are not drafting today. We are just playing a standard round with the pre-constructed decks. And
I see that I think that my video is stuck.
Your video is stuck?
I'm just doing... Yes, I'm doing a very happy smile there, which is great, but not very effective. Oh, here it is.
Ah, perfect. So we are back at it. Perfect. And
yes.
Detailer 11 says all the spreadsheets. We want all the spreadsheets.
Oh yeah, that's me.
That's you said. Okay, it is all the spreadsheets. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah, so I think you mentioned that you want to explain the rules.
Yes, that is how we do it on this stream. The 5
all means, go ahead.
Yeah, I will explain the rules to you, and then you can correct me and put in what I've missed, and then maybe emphasize. You can see what I am emphasizing, and then we can figure out why I am emphasizing it, maybe. And where the rules could be, what the rules are suggesting. So it is maybe an interesting situation. So we have Worldbreakers. It is a 1v1 card game. In Worldbreakers, we play these Worldbreakers that we see here, and we have both have a deck of now 30 cards, and we will have turns that we. So I will have a turn. You will have a turn until the end of a round. Then we will switch the turn order. And in every turn that we have the choice of different actions. And the actions that we can take are either gain 1 mythium. Mythium is the currency of the game. We can draw a card from our deck. We can pay 2 mythium to gain a standing with any guild. These are the guilds here. We see I have 1 star standing in this situation. You have 1 earth standing because we are playing the earth and the star deck in this situation. Then we can play a card as an action. And to play a card, it is we have to pay the cost up here in the bottom left. So I had to pay 2 mythium for the caravan guild in this situation. And we have to have the standing with the guild that we see here. For example, you would have to have one Earth guild standing to play this migration card. Then we do what is happening here if it is an event. And if it is a follower, we play the follower out here. And then the follower will fight for us and our Worldbreaker, which is, I guess, another action that I don't see here. Is that correct? This is the first thing I want to ask. So attacking is an action in and of itself, right?
It is, and it's missing from the reminder card because of an illustrator error. Jamie was just pinging me on Discord in parallel to this, like, oh no, you didn't fix the the reminder card. But yes, the updated reminder card is going to have attack as the last action.
Yes, attack is the last action. So yeah, so before we get into attack, we can say develop the location. We can develop, there are location cards here, for example, one. When we play out a location, for example, it comes up with as much stages as it has, with these counters, and we can develop it as an action. So put one counter in the bag, and then get what is written here. And as a last action, we can attack, and we can choose to attack with our followers. We can choose to attack with one follower, two followers, as much as we have. So we don't have to attack with all of them at once. And if we attack and the attack breaches, so it is not blocked by any of your followers, the attack is successful, and we will get power for each attacker that is going through. And this is the question that I have right here. Do we get if we breach, if even one of our attackers breach, do we get a power for each attacker or only for each attacker that breaches? That is the first question that I have.
So the way this works, and how about we get some more followers in here to make it more interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that I'm attacking and you're defending.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be my turn, and I'm going to attack with these three followers.
Mm-hmm.
So you block with followers one at a time. So let's say that the generous dealer is going to block the lowly bard. And, let's just change one thing here. So the dealer is going to deal wounds to the bard, and she's going to get discarded, and the bard is going to deal wounds to the dealer.
Yep.
And then let's say you block the sparring braggart with the caravan guard.
Yes.
So they're going to deal wounds to each other. And then any follower that survives is going to move back and is no longer part of combat. So this sparring braggart is not attacking anymore.
Yeah.
They're done. They're back home, resting after the day's adventures.
Yes.
So at this point, only this follower is unblocked. Only this follower breaches.
Yes.
So I will gain one power.
Yes.
If I had multiple of them, I would gain one power for each. But any follower that got blocked is no longer attacking. They move back, and I won't get power for them.
Yes. All right. This is how it works. And this makes sense, of course. Yeah. So I can reduce the power that you get for each attacking with each of my own followers that are blocking you. Yeah, that is good. Okay, so this is the combat in a nutshell, and then the last thing, which is the win condition. The win condition means 10 power. If you have 10 power at the end of a round, so if we go to the round to the turn 4 here, then we will do the rally phase. You have the win condition here, yeah. If you have the rally, if you have in this at the 5 point here, so we would rally, ready cards, gain 2 mythium, draw 1 card, and then at 5, if you have 10 power and I do not, you win. If we both have 10 power, then we will play another round until one person has more power than the other and over 10. And that is it in a nutshell.
In an infinite nutshell.
Yeah, and it is in an infinite nutshell because with all the special abilities of the followers, of the locations, it gets infinitely more complex, right?
Yeah. Did you have a chance to play the game, or did you just read the rules?
No. I played the game. Yes, I played the game before.
Okay.
So
You explained the rules very well. So congratulations on figuring
thank you.
explaining rules is hard. So you really got it.
Thank you very much. I wanted to make this because I was playing it exactly the way that you told me with combat and all. Then I read the rule book to make sure that I don't miss any important detail. And then the rule book got me thinking a little bit about breaching. So I wanted to ask you a little. Again. But
that makes sense.
But I don't think it's the fault of the rule book. It's just maybe me overthinking it.
Oh, it's okay. And you're always going to have questions after reading the rule book. Yeah. One thing I would add is that if an attack is successful, then
that's important.
The attacker gets to damage a location. Mm-hmm. So let's say I attack with these two followers. I'm going to gain 2 power, 1 for each one. And I can damage one of your locations, which means removing the top stage counter without triggering the effect.
Yeah.
I think that was the only thing that was missing. Yeah. The ability to damage locations.
Yep. From general rules, right? I mean, the nitty gritty of the cards is a separate thing that we will get into while we're playing, right? So I think that
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we play a game?
Let's play a game. I will, before we play, I will exchange this and get the moon faction, because I was playing with my girlfriend and she preferred the moon faction, and I want to make justice. I want to give justice to the moon faction. Because she really destroyed me using the moon faction, and maybe I can recreate her success.
Got it. Let's see. Would you like to be odd or even?
I'm taking odd.
Odd. Okay, you made the right choice.
Okay, so I can.
And you were talking about the standing. There's no limit on which types of standing you can put in your deck. Mm-hmm. There's 4 different guilds. There's the Void, there's the Moon, the Stars, and the Earth. So you can mix and match, like Magic the Gathering, like Pokemon. These pre-constructed decks, they each have only 1 guild in them. So all of the cards in my deck are either neutral or Earth. Which means that as we gain standing, we can always gain the standing of our guild.
Yeah, so
there's no need to
to diversify.
Right. Yeah. There's no need to diversify. You can just take whatever you want.
Yes.
And this hand is terrible. So
yeah, that's
gonna mulligan.
Another rule. You can mulligan, so you can exchange all the cards in your hand from 0 to 5 and get new ones for your starting hand. Oh, right. I love this card.
And we adopted the mulligan rule. We adopted the mulligan rule from Arkham Horror. So the way it works is you set aside the cards you don't want. In this case, I don't want 4 cards. Mm-hmm. You draw replacement cards, and then you shuffle these back into the deck.
Ah, that's good. So you don't lose these cards forever.
You don't lose them, and you're guaranteed not to redraw them.
Yeah.
So some mulligan rules, you set aside cards, you shuffle the deck, you draw them, you could get the same cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to look about this. Keeping up with chat. Infinite Nutshell says, it's a very natural question that I had, and I'm very glad to hear that.
About the breaches.
You missed the bit where blocked followers are removed from combat. The outcome phase instruction seems strange. Ah, okay. The removed from combat thing I missed, definitely, yeah. And you still have a Stars Apprentice in your head. Do I still have a Stars Apprentice in my head? I don't, yeah.
No, I pulled it from your hand while you were grabbing the moon deck.
Ooh, thank you very much. How...
Yes.
Very comfortable. Yeah. And
it's all part of the service. It's all part of the Kickstarter service.
Oh, so you are with the kicks. If you pledge on Kickstarter, you will be there every time somebody plays, and you will
Yes.
fix the decks and do. Yeah, cool. That's cool.
Yes. The funding from the Kickstarter is actually for the cloning vats to create more and more copies of myself.
You are, after all, a bioengineer, right? Or a you can do that. You can.
I'm an immunologist. Yeah. I'm an immunologist. So unfortunately, no cloning technology in my fingertips.
Ah, that's.
But yeah, apparently the past couple of years were pretty busy for immunology. Not sure why. Looks like something happened.
Great. Sounds great for all of us. This situation.
Yeah, certainly. Lovely.
Ooh. Okay, I like that, but I don't like it right now. I like this. I'm sorry, I have to think for a little bit.
Take your time.
I don't want this right now. Of course I don't want this right now. I don't want this right now. I'm keeping this. 3 in my card. So, shuffle. So, what do we have here? And I start. Is that correct, right?
Yes, you take the first turn because you won the
Yes, I won
the dice roll.
Yeah, it is a choice by chance, right? It is explicitly by chance. Infinite Nutshell says that's looking excellent. I am excited. Okay, we have.
Why do I never get the backseat coaching on these streams? It's always the host.
I think the rule is if you play against the developer of a game, backseating is allowed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like this, but I mean, let's just start with this. I don't think you can do something wrong with this one. So I will start with this card. Get some funding before starting the game, actually. So I'm paying 5 mythium, and I gain 9 mythium for it. That's just 3 mythium for me, and it is your turn.
And at this point, I can tell you got more economy cards than me, so I might be in a bit of trouble. I'm going to play the Earth Guild Executor, and he's a follower. He costs 2 mythium. When he enters play, I can gain a standing with 1 guild, and I'm going to gain a standing with the Earth Guild.
Ooh, surprising. Interesting.
Yes. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. I can. Okay, so we do this one first. That's right. So now I can play my first follower, and it is a Natty Matron that I will pay 3 mythium for, and I can play it because I already have 1 moon standing.
Yep.
And it is your turn.
And one of the conventions we're trying to follow is to have 3 rows for your game board. The center row is all of the resting followers. And the front row is the attacking ones, and the back row is the locations.
I get it. So it's the Natty Matron would chill here. Right?
Pretty much, yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. I will pay 1 mythium for a Galen soldier.
Ooh, armoring up over there. I see.
Yep.
Infinite Nutshell is defending themselves, saying, anyway, I wasn't coaching, just saying that Mulligan landed Sven with some excellent round 1 cards. Okay. Wait a second. You can stream snipe me, right, Elli?
Oh, I'm totally alt-tabbing all the time to see what's in your hand.
Sure.
So, yeah, there's ongoing stream sniping going on.
That's very good. So if I win, I will feel like a total champ. That's good.
Yes.
So now that I have the Natty Matron out, I mean, you have 2 followers, I have 1. Do I like that? I don't like that. Which is why I will pay a fledgling defender.
Nice.
2 mythium. And a little forced interrupt. When this wounds an attacking follower, gain 3 mythium. Defeat this. So the fledgling defender will die, but we will get me 3 mythium. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good.
When she blocks. And you've actually hit on 2 interesting thematic choices. One, fledgling defender is a she, not a he.
I'm sorry.
And 2, we really thought long and hard about which language to use, like destroy, die. We went with defeated.
Yeah.
And this is to indicate that all of them could come back to fight another day. So trying to lower the intensity of the language a bit.
I get it. So all the characters, defeated in battle doesn't mean you don't have to imagine a bloody death. Okay, I get it. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And if you're done, you can pass the counter back to me.
I'm done.
And I will pay 2 mythium for the pride's Keshig. And she says that whenever she attacks, I put a +1/+1 counter on her. And she also has an ability called Overwhelm. When she defeats a blocker, I gain 1 power, even though she was blocked. And you're up.
I don't really like how much attacking is going on over there.
I haven't attacked a single time.
Or how much attacking is
peaceful.
Prepared over there. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I don't like this, but let's. You have this one, you have this one. Yeah, I mean, I am quote-unquote wasting her, but I have to defend myself, so I'm playing the Peaceful Engineer for 1 mythium, but unfortunately I don't have a location card to play. So, now it is your turn.
Sounds good.
Yep.
I'm going to attack with the Earth Guild Executor and the Prize Keshig. And because she's attacking, she's going to get a +1/+1 counter. And I do have Cthulhu's +1 strength, which I'm going to put on the Keshig.
Okay.
So the Keshig is at 3 strength and 3 health. And the Executor is at 2 strength and 2 health.
Yep. I see. So I think I will defend the Earth Guild Executor with my... Which one do I use? I think I will use my Fledgling Defender. So I will wound you with 1 and defeat the Fledgling Defender.
Yep.
And get 3 mythium out of it. And then I will welcome the Pride's Keshig into my lands to raid and do as they please.
It's a diplomatic mission.
Yep.
We trade. I take power and you get nothing.
What a delightful trade. Always happy to trade with you.
Yes. That's how trading works, right? I get what I want, and
if you have the power, that's how trade works for you.
Yes.
So we will
ready our cards. Gain 2 mythium. Draw a card. And this flips.
So, ooh. I like the look
And
of that.
This worked so well last time. I'm just going to do it again.
So you immediately attack,
So-
right? Yeah. I see how it is.
Yep, pretty much.
See how it is.
And let me order them by strength. So the Executor has 3 strength and 1 health. The Kashig has 3 strength and 4 health. And the Soldier has 2 strength and 1 health.
Yep. So I will welcome you completely to another diplomatic mission and hope you, because I think it seems you like it in my realm. So please take your 3 power.
Diplomacy achieved.
Yeah. And I think now is a good time as ever to start my own diplomatic mission and get some power
Go
for
ahead.
myself, right?
That works.
And get 2 power. I mean, I have to start somewhere. So I love diplomacy.
So I'll pay 2 mythium and play the skill for Bruiser. And she has Overwhelm, which says that when she defeats a blocker, I gain 1 power.
Yep. Okay. I don't really like that, but I think I can do this now. I pay 4 mythium for a beautiful location, which is the Luminous Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's your turn.
Did you draw this recently, or was it in your opening hand?
I did draw it recently.
Okay, so when you draw a location, you can use the Muhandasat's ability.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot to do it. Yep. So
Yes.
I can store it here. I have to think about that. I have to remind myself to do that. Okay. Yep.
And I see that Jamie is asking, what would have happened if the fledgling defender blocked the Kashik? I'm curious whether you've noticed this subtlety. What would have happened if the fledgling defender blocked the caching?
If the fledgling.
I mean, the fledgling defender's ability is an interrupt, so I think she would still get defeated and you will get the mythium, but I'm not sure. Okay, so you played the Luminous Lagoon?
Yeah, but I think the question is, would you get the power of the Overwhelm? And maybe not, because I would be defeating myself before you could overwhelm me, right?
I would not get... I don't think I would get the power, because it's not the prize Kashig that defeated the defender. It's the defender that defeated the defender, yeah. And
So
if you're
it's
done, you
your
can move
turn.
this.
I'm sorry.
Interesting. So on one hand,
Yeah.
I don't want you to kill my Kashig.
That's the question
But
that I'm posing.
I also don't want you to get a standing in a card. I think if you had a defender, you'd have played it first. I think stopping you from getting cards and standing is more important than keeping my Kashig. So I'm just going to attack here.
Good.
And I'm going to get 1 power and I'm going to damage your Luminous Lagoon.
Yes. My Luminous Lagoon is damaged. And I mean, this is the question.
But that was an
posed
interesting
to you.
choice.
Yeah. So now I can do this. I can get 1 power, developing my Luminous Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I can defeat a follower with printed cost 3 or less, and that is, of course, the Pride Kashik, which grew stronger and stronger.
She's gonna go to the spa, the Luminous Lagoon spa.
After having so many diplomatic missions. So
Yes.
now it's your turn.
After all the diplomatic missions, I am going to gain 1 mythium.
Okay. The economy is rolling slowly, but it is.
I didn't draw any economy cards, so it is what it is.
So then I guess I will gain 1 standing with any guild, which is the Moon Guild, and I will draw a card from my Netting Matron.
That's a lot of cards. And you also draw cards from the naming ceremony itself.
If you otherwise draw a card. Yeah, of course. So many cards. That's pretty good.
And remember, if any of them are locations, you can now trigger the Muhandasat.
Yep. What did you say?
So if any of the cards you drew are locations, you can use the Muhandasat.
Yeah, thank you very much for reminding me, and I will use it.
Okay.
It is face up, right?
You said it.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It is face up. You know what this card is.
Right. And the ones that are exhausted, and you draw another card.
Okay. Very well.
And they are exhausted when you do it, so it's a once per round ability.
So it is exhausted,
right.
But now we can...
Yeah, now they're ready, but...
now they're ready, you know.
Yes, so we ready our cards, gain 2 mythium, draw a card. And now you go first.
Now we ready the cards before we draw the card, right? So I store another one.
This is... No? Read the Muhandasat. It's only during your turn. And this is not your turn, it's the rally phase.
I get it. Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, it is written there. Yep, okay, good. So, let's see. So the interrupt happens during step 3 of the blocks with overwhelm triggers during step 4? That's an interesting question.
I think they're still talking about the interaction between Overwhelm and Fledgling Defender.
Yeah. But I think Infinite Nutshell can take that one.
Yes, I will let them handle it.
Okay, so it's my turn to start. Yeah, this is a is this a good time to do this?
Totally.
No, I think I have to do this.
I don't know what it is.
I think I have to do this one to not be so vulnerable. I just get an alert warden out.
Got it.
So, and it's your turn.
I think I'm just gonna keep the pressure on. I'm gonna play Gratuitous Gift, and this is an event that says they can play a follower card, paying 2 mythium less. And I will play Confident Suitor for 2 mythium. And the Suitor, he comes with a lot of text. So first of all, he has Overwhelm. So when he defeats a blocker, I gain 1 power. Also, he has a force response, which means that after he breaches or overwhelms, I have to defeat it and gain 4 mythium. So he's a big, strong man that only attacks once and gives me some resources when he leaves.
And because you played the Gratuitous Gift to play him, you even make a net gain of mythium from this. That's cool.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
And the legend is that Cthulhu had many suitors, and she would only marry the man that would defeat her in battle. And anyone who wanted to fight her had to wager some horses. Usually it was 100 horses, but a certain prince, an unnamed prince, actually wagered 1,000 horses for Cthulhu's hand, and he was defeated. She won the wrestling match and took his horses. And she had 10,000 horses, thanks to all of the suitors that came in and lost. And this is just another one of the horses, another one of the suitors who's bringing some horses in the form of 4 mythium.
Ooh, and a very confident suitor at that. Wow, interesting.
Yes.
That's cool. And with the 10,000 horses, Cthulhu could grow her horde, or how would you call her pack?
So it's interesting. Um, the Mongol word is Orda, and it was anglicized as horde. So the word horde, as we know it, comes from Mongol. And I've been trying to avoid using it in Worldbreakers because Blizzard sort of appropriated the word for the orcs in
Yeah.
Warcraft.
Yeah.
So whenever you talk to gamers and you say the horde, they immediately think of orcs and Tauren and trolls. So
Yeah.
Worldbreakers was originally called Advent of the Horde, referring to the literal Mongol Orda, but we changed it to the Khanate because of Blizzard taking the word from us.
Get it. All right, and it is my turn still. All questions of the world won't relieve me from this decision I have to take right now. I can be super risky, or I can be a little bit less risky. Should I be super risky?
Totally, yes.
Yeah, then I draw a card.
That's the risky move, drawing a card?
Yep, but it is, yeah, and it didn't work out as I wanted to. I wanted it to be a location that I could store, but it is okay. It's your turn.
Fair enough. So I'm definitely gonna attack here, and it's gonna be the Skillful Bruiser and the Gallant Soldier. Yeah. And the +1 is gonna go on the Soldier, so they're both 3/1s. The Bruiser has Overwhelm, so when she defeats a follower, I gain 1 power.
Yep. So this choice is pretty easy for me. I will use the Peaceful Engineer to block the Gallant Soldier.
Okay, so they trade?
Yeah, they trade. And I will... invite the Skillful Bruiser to another diplomatic campaign.
Okay, thank you for your hospitality.
I am,
You're up.
The moon people are very, very kind hosts. So,
agreed.
Okay, then this one is pretty cool. But it is nothing for me right now. I will gain a mythium. It's your turn.
I will attack. I will send a diplomatic mission. And the Executor is going to be a 3/1, and the Confidence Suitor is going to be a 6/6. And remember that whatever happens, he's going to go away after not winning the wrestling match and leaving me with a bunch of horses.
Yep. Yeah. Have your diplomatic mission. I have to give it to you. It is hurtful, but take your 2 power.
Okay. And I'm gonna get 2 power, and I'm gonna get 4 mythium from the Confident Suitor.
Yep.
And you're up.
So now that I am up, I really have to.
And whatever happens,
do my diplomatic
whatever happens with
right
this
now.
game, whatever happens with this game, you should tell your girlfriend that maybe it's not as easy as it seems to play the Moon Guild.
It isn't. It isn't. Wait,
the Warden cannot attack.
This is stationary, right? Yeah, sorry, I did. Wait, then I only have the Natty Matron. Do I want to do this then, or do I want to do something else? But I have to. Do I want to get 1 power, or do I want to invest in my future? I think investing in the future is a better thing to do. I'm so behind. This is not fun.
So it doesn't matter how much power I have, as long as it's not 10.
I know.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I will attack. I will get my power now. Even if it's maybe foolish. Or do you have something to interrupt this? I don't think so, right?
There's no interrupts other than what is on the board. So there's no gotcha cards like other games.
No, you
if it's in my hand, I can't
card.
use it.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
No instance.
And I will just draw a card.
Okay.
And it's the ready phase. So we ready our followers, we gain to mythium, and we draw a card.
Now we're talking, maybe in the future. Let's see what you're doing now.
I'm going to shock and amaze you.
Okay.
I'm going to attack.
Yeah. Yep. I should have done that earlier. Because
I'm just nodding.
That's a bad timing. I should have defended against the Earth Guild Executor last round with my Alert Warden and kill him. Sorry, defeat him.
I think you should defend against the Bruiser because she is overwhelmed.
Yep, I get it.
Her text actually means something.
Yep, then let's do this. Okay.
But it does mean you have to block the Bruiser as well. So actually, I take it back. It's a tricky question what you should do here because...
You will have 9 power at the end of this, right? Not 10. You'll have 8. You have 8 power right now.
Right, I have 8 right now. So I'll let you figure out what's the best course of action. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I want to go full risk and leave you at 9 power, you know? Which is why I want to defeat the Earth Guild Executor.
So let's trade.
Yeah, and we trade.
And the Bruiser?
We'll go on a diplomatic mission and give you another power.
Okay, you are up.
Yep. It is not fun. It is not fun, but
I like how Jamie is writing, you should probably defend this time.
Yeah, I know. But now, I mean, what do we have here? 2, 3, 1. We have 2, 3, 1. We have. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go all in. I'm playing the ambitious construction. And I'm playing this location card from my storage for can I do this? Yeah, I can. For 9 mythium. 3 less is 6 mythium, and I'm investing it all.
Nice.
Okay, your turn. Let's see how this will work out. 2 power, 3 power, 1 power. Okay.
I'm gonna play Gura Migration. And I will choose the top option. So the Earth Guild has a cycle of these cards that say Nomad, and the idea is that you can choose to either set up your camp or go somewhere else.
Yep.
And I'm going to choose the first option. I'm going to draw 2 cards and gain 1 standing with the Earth Guild.
Yep. So my turn, I will develop the Indigo Grotto and get 2 power.
Nice.
Your turn. Oh my god, my heart is beating.
I will play Champion of the Tumen. Actually, let's make sure you block. So I'm going to play the 10,000 ride. And this is an event that says that I can play a follower and then immediately attack. I know you were curious about the fate of the 10,000 horses.
Yep.
Here they are.
Oh
and
my god.
I will pay 4 for Champion of the Tumen. She has 4 strength, 2 health, and overwhelm. And I'm going to immediately attack with her.
And I will block, but you still get your power because you will defeat the Natty Matron.
Right, so I'm at 10 power, and I have 1 wound. And you're up.
I will develop the Indigo Grotto
That works.
to gain 3 power. Now it's your turn. Yeah, I have to do it.
I will gain a mythium.
Okay. And I will develop it for the last time. Gaining
Nice.
1 power as well, going up to 10, but you are also at 10, which will mean we will play another round. I'm living for another round. That is all I wanted.
Yeah, so let's do it by order. We go to the rally. You can press Alt on the turn tracker to see the rally phase.
Yeah.
So we ready our cards. We gain 2 mythium. We draw a card, and then we check for victory.
Yep.
And as you pointed out, because both of us have 10, the game continues. And we flip the turn order, and you're going to go first.
And I'm gonna go first, but this next round doesn't look too swell. If I would have 7 mythium, it would be cool, but I only have 2 mythium. Oh.
2 is not 7.
2 is a number smaller than 7, I learned recently, which is a shame. So the thing I will do is you have two attackers. I will draw a card.
Okay.
Okay, it's your time.
And if you're done, you can.
I'm sorry, I have to do this. Yeah.
I will play the Eagle Huntress, and she's a follower. She costs 2 mythium, and she's a nomad as well. So when she enters, I can choose to either gain an Earth Standing or spend an Earth Standing and draw 2 cards. I'm going to choose to spend an Earth Standing and draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
And you're up.
I'm going to gain a mythium. It's your turn.
I will also gain a mythium.
Okay. I am going to... I can't do that. This following draw 1 card or return non-location. That doesn't really help me. No, it doesn't help me at all. Or does it?
Oh no. Jamie is writing, I'm trying to think if there's a way to survive here. Not very optimistic.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, no, I will get another mythium, and it's your turn.
Okay, I'm going to play Raid the Mines.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a 2 mythium event that says that I'm going to attack, and the first time I gain power during this combat, I also gain 5 mythium.
Mm-hmm.
So I will attack with my 3 followers, and I will gain 3 power and 5 mythium.
Yeah. So now you wait for my last turn.
Yes!
I mean, it doesn't matter, but I will play this location card for 4 mythium.
That works.
But it doesn't matter at all. So it is your last turn.
Yep, I will draw a card.
Okay.
And we reach the rally phase.
And now we see.
Yep, I have 13 power.
Against my 10, and that means you win. Congratulations.
Well played.
Thank you.
Well done.
I mean, it was more close than I thought it would be.
Yeah, the pre-constructed decks are often close. We've done a lot of work balancing with them to make sure that even if there is a skill disparity between the players, the games are going to be tight and fun and exciting, and it's a big part of the intro experience to Worldbreakers.
Yeah. Yeah. Infinite Nutshell says it was such a good grotto gambit. I think Elli needed to have exactly Champion of the Tumen in hand there. Yeah, maybe you had to have a follower with Overwhelm to win, I guess. That is correct, right? Because you wouldn't have gotten a power otherwise. I could have blocked it.
So the way the turn worked is I played my first turn, you played the grotto. I actually had 2 actions left, and I had 6 mythium, so I could have played 2 followers and attacked.
Okay.
And then that would destroy the last step of your grotto, and I would gain 1 power, so I would be at 10 to your 9. I only had 1 follower though. Okay. Thankfully, it was the champion of the 2-man, and I did have the 10,000 ride.
Yeah.
I think it was a good gambit though. I mean, it was an out. You went for it. I think it was a smart move.
Thanks. Yeah, I think, and that brings me right into it. Of course, regarding the balancing and the opportunities this game provides. This is pretty interesting that you have a card like this grotto, which grants you a total of 6 power in 3 turns. But you have to have the timing right, and I guess that's kind of what this game is about, right?
Yes, the game is about timing and sequencing and predicting what your opponent is going to do. Yeah. And if you've played anything from Magic the Gathering to Android Netrunner to board games like Agricola and Kalis and Lords of Waterdeep, then you would be intimately familiar with these kinds of dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, when I think about balancing a card game like this, you don't only have the challenge to balance 2 factions against each other, or 2 players with different special abilities, like in a how do you say it? Like in a game like Root, for example, where you have different factions with completely different rule sets. No, you will have to balance every card in itself, I guess, so you can construct a deck, and that it is a meaningful choice to construct a deck, and that it is not only possible to have the best deck and then just roll with it. Like, how did you even begin challenging going for this challenge?
The starting point for the Worldbreakers design was the question of, can we design a card game with draft as the heart of the game experience?
Yeah.
And I was actually I have a friend that we played Magic Arena together, and one of the things we like doing is one of us plays the game and the other spectates, and we think about decisions together. And that's where that idea came from. So as I was designing Worldbreakers and as we were developing it, the draft experience really took center stage. And initially I didn't even plan to have constructed, but the pre-constructed decks came to be because you need a way to introduce the game. You can't introduce a game through a draft. It's way too much information to take in one go.
Yes.
And then players just asked for constructed. And initially I was a bit concerned about it because it's more formats to playtest. But eventually there's quite a bit of overlap between draft and constructed when it comes to Worldbreakers. And the reason is, unlike other games which are based on booster packs, we don't need to have weak or boring or underwhelming cards in our card pool. So if you look at other games like Magic the Gathering, some cards are just weak because they need something to fill the boosters with.
Yep.
And with Worldbreakers, we didn't need to do that. Every card brings meaningful decisions. Some cards are stronger than others. That's going to come with any kind of board game. But every card is relevant to some degree. And there's quite a bit of overlap between the constructed and draft experience. So we could just hammer away at playtesting on these three different fronts, the pre-cons, the draft, and the constructed, and there was a lot of crosstalk between them. So if something was too strong in the constructed, it was probably too strong for draft and pre-constructed as well, and vice versa. So we gained, instead of splitting our efforts into three different formats, we actually had these complementary experiences where every lesson learned in one of them was beneficial to the others.
That makes a lot of sense. And when I look at the game and even the constructed decks, I think you can feel that the heart is the drafting, because the cards look so versatile and they look like I have drafted this deck a little bit like, yeah. So it makes sense that you've thought about it like that. And yeah, interesting also is like, is it in draft as well that you can't have duplicates? So each card is not only meaningful, but it is also the only card that is in the game when you draft.
Yeah,
right?
so
Yeah.
the game is almost exclusively Highlander, so one copy per card. And I'm saying almost. Yeah. There's an asterisk. I will get to the asterisk in a sec. The motivation there was twofold. One, I like Highlander formats, Highlander draft, in particular cube drafts, where you only have one copy of each card in the cube. And when the designer builds the cube, when they build the draft, they put all these puzzle pieces into the card pool. And now the players can uncover the puzzle pieces and build their decks as their draft. So that's something I really like. And the second reason is the Commander format from Magic the Gathering, which has become one of the most popular formats in Magic. And in Commander, the deck is Highlander. We have one copy of every card. And I have to say that choosing this particular format caused a lot of problems. The first one, players, at least initially, just don't like it. They say, oh, we want consistency, so we want to have duplicates of cards in our deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that consistency and duplicates of cards are two totally different things.
Mm-hmm.
You can have card games with duplicates and decks which are not consistent, and you can have card games with singletons and decks which are consistent. Mm-hmm. For example, Commander in Magic the Gathering has 100 card decks, which are singletons, and yet there is a lot of consistency. In Worldbreakers, that consistency is achieved in few ways. One, some cards fulfill similar roles, but in different ways. So there's different aggressive creatures, different aggressive followers in Worldbreakers. And they're interesting, they bring interesting decisions, they're diverse, but they're aggressive creatures. And the other way to achieve consistency is through this little thing over here, where you can always gain mythium, you can always draw cards. You're not limited by these basic resources, you always have access to them. So yeah, I think that the Highlander format worked pretty well. I like it, I'm excited by it, and I think that players are coming to it as well. It took a bit of an uphill struggle, but I think players are enjoying it too by now.
Yeah, I can see that there is an initial defensive response, but it makes sense, especially the way you describe it. Dunch97 says the game is not fully out yet, and I already want more cards. I think everybody.
That's the thing about card games, right?
Yeah.
You always want more cards.
Yeah. And I think more cards are planned, right? That is secure. I can think that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I wouldn't say it's secure, because there's still going to be a period after the Kickstarter campaign where I sit down and assess how to proceed. Mm-hmm. But from a design perspective, we do have a bunch of cards lined up, and I'm thinking, and I'm talking to Jamie and others about how best to introduce expansions and how to release new cards. So I'm very optimistic that we are going to have expansions and we are going to have cards coming in the next few in the months following fulfillment of the Kickstarter campaign. The exact format is still to be determined.
Sure, yeah. And there has to be a lot of balancing to be done in the future when you add cards as well. Which brings us to Spreadsheet Time.
Spreadsheet Time it is.
Yeah, Spreadsheet Time is a new format of this show, and Spreadsheet Time is when we look at developer spreadsheets and pick the brains about balancing, about the mathematical structure behind every decision being made for the development process. And I'm super excited that you agreed to do this.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
So
let's see. Shall I share my screen? Is that going to work?
Let's try to share the screen. I will do this, and then you can, and I will. There we have your
And
screen.
let me check the stream really quick. Oh, I think the stream, just put it on full screen and I think it's going to work.
I don't want a pop-out, right? I want it to be in full screen. This.
Yeah,
Does
want
this
to do
work?
right. Yes. I think so, yeah.
Whew.
And Jamie is pointing out in the chat that the Kickstarter has no official stretch goals, and we can have a long discussion about why I dislike stretch goals. But the official, like the unofficial stretch goal is if we get enough followers, then we're gonna work on the expansions quickly, like more sooner than we would otherwise.
Yeah, and to be honest, yeah, having no stretch goals is like it's a fair thing for people who understand the developing process. I mean, if you have a full game, and yeah, I don't want to get into it, but I think it's fair and pretty reasonable not to have stretch goals. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna talk with, in a couple of months, I'm gonna have a stream with Indie Game Lab, and they suggested that we just talk about Kickstarter. I have a lot of opinions with capital O, so we can go there, and I'm gonna share the link. You can join us and in the crowd, and I have some thoughts.
Oh, super interesting.
So
I'm loving it. Okay, so let's get into it.
So spreadsheets. It was hard to choose which ones to show, but let's start with this one. And this is the master spreadsheet that has all of the cards in it. It is much more organized than it was even 2 weeks ago. Up until 2 weeks ago, it was a complete mess. But we're getting close enough to the end of development that I felt more comfortable tidying it up. And what you see here are all the different columns that correspond to the sections of the card, like the card's name and how much standing does it cost, if it's a follower, how much strength and health it has, how much mythium it costs, and so on and so forth. And I think that this spreadsheet in some form or other has existed since the beginning of the game, since the first prototype.
Yeah.
One of the fun things about Google Docs is you can go and you can see the version history.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to take a while.
The history.
But if I'm going to slowly scroll back. So this is March 16th, and you can see all the different versions and changes and everything that happened over the history of the game. Oh no, I think Google Docs is having a hard time with this. And we can keep going.
It is such a long
I wonder if this is it.
that
No.
It is hard to successfully load it. Ah, now it is.
It's slowly loading. So let's just pick an old one. Let's just pick version 0.6. And you can see how the spreadsheets look completely different.
Wow.
It's much more messy, and There's less of a structure to it. And you can also see stuff that no longer exists. So for example, there was a cycle of cards called gifts, and these either gave you standing with 2 guilds, or they gave you 2 viri and a standing with 1 guild. So viri was the previous name of mythium. We called it viri instead. And this whole cycle of cards just doesn't exist anymore. It's not part of the game. The big reason is because we made standing gain much easier. So there's many more cards that give you standing, that this cycle was no longer necessary. Another thing you can see here is we have these columns called 2P, 4P, and econ. And when I was designing the game, I wanted to make sure that there's enough economy cards. So some cards were deemed to be economy. And in fact, I'm going to show you in a minute, that column survived to present day, although it's out of date. So some economy cards no longer have it, and some non-economy cards are still set as econ. But as I was building the game, I wanted to make sure there's enough economy cards for all the different guilds, and that's where the econ column came from.
Interesting.
Also, the game was designed with a card pool of 192 cards. I'm releasing it as 96, but it was designed as 192, and the box came with 2 different draft experiences. There was a 2-player draft, and there was a 4-player draft. So when you played with 2 players, you had 96 cards, and when you played with 4 players, you would take 96 additional, completely different cards and shuffle them together.
Whoa.
It was really exciting. It was a lot of fun. Playtesting 192 cards is very difficult.
I can imagine.
But it does mean that we have 96 cards that are pretty mature and are serving as the basis for the first expansion. So,
Nice.
going back to present day, here's the economy column I talked about. And you can see that it sort of corresponds to economy. So Gur Migration, the card I played, can either give you cards or mythium, and it's an economy card. And let's say Kalari Adept, he's a follower that when he attacks he gains you mythium, so he's an economy card. But the distinction of economy and non-economy is a bit blurred.
I get it, yeah. Do you have a total number for each faction, for example, or is there like, do you think in terms of that you calculate one number that you say, okay, this faction has cards that can grant you a total of, let's say, 30 mythium or something like that, and that you balance it out like that, or is that not a thing that is useful to you? Total numbers.
I balanced the number of cards. So Earth was designed with about 7 economy cards, while on the other hand, the Moon Guild was designed with 8 economy cards. And the Stars Guild was designed with 7 as well, and the Void Guild was designed with 5. So by design, Moon has a bit more economy cards, Void has the least. And also, during playtesting, the actual numbers changed as well. So using the Moon Guild as an example, they have a card that is called Peaceful Engineer, and she says that when she enters, you play a location and you pay 1 mythium less. This number started as 3, and then it got toned down to 2, and then it went down to 1. So initially, Moon had more economy cards, and they gave you more stuff, while the other factions had weaker economy cards. Eventually, it got balanced in different ways. So the initial goal was a certain number, and then the actual contents of these cards were tweaked as we playtested.
That is super, super interesting, which leads me to the huge question, of course. When what does have to happen for you to decide that something is overpowered or underpowered at that?
That's a great question. And let me switch to another spreadsheet
Yes!
to answer that.
Perfect! It's
Um,
spreadsheet time.
so this spreadsheet is called the playtest log. And I picked one as an example. It's actually based on a template. So here is the template. So here's an empty template for the playtest log. And I'm going to switch back to the populated one. And this is the playtest log. And whenever I ran a playtest, if it was in person, I would have my computer next to me. And if it was online, I would have the spreadsheet open. And every card that was played, I would write it down.
Wow.
And also, as I was typing them, I would collect impressions. So for example, here's a quote from the other player. He said, for the very infused catapult shot, a card that doesn't exist anymore. He said, I drew it one round before I used it. I had fewer creatures than you, so I will run with 4 Viri, so when the source comes down, I can destroy it. It's funny how this sentence is a whole pile of nonsense because all of these terms changed. But basically, what Jared is saying, I top decked this card and decided to build some mythium before I played it. So as we play the cards, I would populate the spreadsheet with different observations, with quotes from the other players. This game is less exciting than most. It's not unusual to see a game where every 3 or 4 rows I would have a comment or a note on one of these cards. So this is one point of input. Especially when you're an indie developer, you're not going to do a lot of playtesting. You just don't have the bandwidth for that. Every data point counts. It's really important to collect them in a systematic fashion. And the way I've chosen to do it is with these playtest logs. We also have this summary that shows how the score of the game developed. And we can see if one player was too far behind, or if there's suddenly a really big jump for one of the players, and so on. It's really about collecting all this data and adopting ideas from qualitative research where you're looking for patterns in your thoughts and in what the other players are telling you in order to get a better idea of the state of a card.
Great. That is super fascinating. And what it tells me as well is that there is no underlying master code that can balance everything out. It is and stays experience, right?
There was at the beginning, just as a guide, when you design a card and you try to think, how much mythium should this card give? So there's this like little calculator that says a card is equal so-and-so mythium and a point is equal so-and-so mythium and so on. But it's just a guideline for the first numbers you put on a card before anything. It never survives playtesting, ever.
Yeah.
I think if I look at the master spreadsheet and look at the cards, I think the only card that survived playtesting is Mythium Fund. And it's the card you play. It's the one that costs 5 Mythium and gives you 9 Mythium.
My opening card, yeah.
Right. To be candid, I suspect this card is slightly overpowered. But I'm keeping it this way because it's a tribute to Netrunner. Netrunner has a card called Hedge Fund. And Mythium Fund copies the text and is inspired by the art from Hedge Fund. So it's possible Mythium Fund is a bit too strong, but it's okay. It deserves it. Everything else changed over playtesting at least once, usually even more than once.
That's great. And I mean, that the card which pays tribute to Netrunner is a little bit overpowered is just perfect. It is exactly where it should be, right? Yeah.
Right. And some cards are stronger because of thematic reasons. That's allowed. As long as they don't completely break the game, it's okay to say, oh, this card in particular is a bit stronger than the others, just because of theme, just because of history.
Yeah.
it's okay to let feelings dictate some of your decisions.
Yeah, yeah, because the game, after all, you feel it when you play it. It is an emotional situation that you are in. It is not only calculation. Yeah.
Right. And I can actually pull a card as an example from a recent discussion that Jamie and I had. So the card I'm talking about now is called, oh, this is the new version, is called Volatile Furnace. Let me see. Oh, I can find the old version here. So let's find it in your deck. So Volatile Furnace is a location card, and it has two interesting parts to it. The first one, when it enters, you can choose to damage it in order to defeat a follower. So we can take these stationary counters. So when you play the Volatile Furnace, you can forfeit the top stage to defeat an opposing follower. It's a removal card inside the location.
Yeah.
The second interesting part is, usually when you develop a location, you just spend the action for it. With Volatile Furnace, you also need to spend one mythium. So if I want to develop the second stage, I need to pay a mythium and my action to draw a card and gain a power. And one of the things Jamie pointed out is that this card is just complicated for unnecessary reasons. We can drop the one mythium payment. We don't need it. And we had a pretty lengthy back and forth over email when I told Jamie that I agree with them that the card can be more complex, but I want to transmit this idea that you're refining mythium, and it's okay if this card is a bit more complex. And the discussion continued, and eventually I agreed with Jamie, and I think they were right. And I even wrote in my email that I'm emotionally attached to this particular design.
Yeah.
And this is why I want to keep it.
Yeah.
In this particular case, emotions did not win out, and we did end up changing the card. We dropped the mythium payment, we dropped the card draw, and we greatly simplified it. So Jamie was right here that the card needed some simplification. There's other situations where the emotional argument does win, and we keep a card in a certain state just because it feels like the correct choice.
I see. That is super fascinating. Okay. Yeah, cool. I think that that answers one question, and for every game developer out there, you will never be able to skip the playtesting phase and the long playtesting phase, I guess that is. So this is something that you will have to do. There is no way around that. And yeah, but it is interesting to see that you said you start with an idea, like you start with the idea, okay, a card should give you that much mythium, it should give you that much power, like maybe even in an average, but then it changes when you see how the game flow works and how it is put to use. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Let's do a fun exercise. Do you mind doing a fun exercise?
I love it. Give it.
Let's see if it works. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's do it. This is the first prototype for Worldbreakers. And we're going to play it now.
Okay. Let's play around Worldbreakers 0.1, you would say?
0. This is version 0.
0. Okay.
And we're going to play it. Let's not do a mulligan, but let's see what happens, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I will play this spell, and this says that I gain 2 credits. So these are my credits. I'm going to gain 2 of them. And I'm going to gain a moon. So I'm just going to move this here so it's clearer to see. I'm going to gain a moon. You're up.
Okay. There is no fortress. Hit a fortress. Play this only as your first action. I think I'll play spell. Can I play this? No,
Okay.
it needs 2 sun, I think. So I can't play it right now.
It does, yes.
I will play the creature.
Okay.
3/3 for 4. Whew.
That works. And if you're done, you can move the turn counter.
I'll always forget the turn counter.
I will play another spell. This one costs 5 credits, and it gives me 9 credits. So I'm going to get a net 4 credits.
This reminds me of a card in Netrunner.
It might, yes.
Okay, let's see. Maybe I've drawn myself into a. I'll attack.
Okay, this is your power, so you can just flip it to 1.
Good.
And gain 1 power.
Your turn.
I will play a creature.
Yeah.
And this one says that I can spend an action and discard a card to draw 2 cards.
Ooh, interesting. But you have to spend a whole action for that.
Right.
Spell for 0. Draw 4 cards. Discard all spells drawn this way. I have to discard this one. Your turn.
Okay. So I'm going to use my creature. I'm going to discard this card to draw 2 other cards. And you're up.
I will gain 1 C. 1 credit.
Okay, we can ignore this. So it's the end of the round. We already are creatures.
Good.
Gain 2C and draw a card.
Okay.
Shall we play another round?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's my turn. I will play creature for 2C and get a sun.
That works.
That's super interesting. Yeah, thank you.
I will play a creature for 4C and gain a moon.
Ooh. Mine cost 2C, your cost 4C, and it is weaker than... Interesting. This baffles me right now, but maybe... Yeah, that's interesting. I will gain a C.
I am going to... I'm going to use my creature to discard this and gain 2 cards.
Ooh. Then I will play a creature for 3C and draw a card.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, sorry.
I will play a creature for 3C.
Action plus tap, gain moon. Okay. I will gain 1C. Your turn.
Okay. I'll just gain a C as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think this looks familiar, isn't it?
It does. Interesting. Okay, so this was the first draft of the game. And yeah, it is like the first thing I have to point out, which is very interesting. Hey, I have to say hey to Maya. Hi, Maya. Maya is in the chat right now, who destroyed me using the Moon faction. Hey, Maya.
Welcome, Maya. I just want to tell you that inspired by your victory, Sven decided to play Moon himself. And he did not triumph, sadly. He did not triumph.
I unfortunately was defeated, but not that hard that I thought. It was closer than I thought, so that's cool.
It was super close.
Yeah. So that we have, like, for example, here, do you remember I have a creature for 2 credits that gains sun and a creature for 4 credit that gains moon. So it is the same creature, but the moon one is more expensive and less powerful. Can you remember what was the reason behind there?
This one has a sun requirement, and this one is neutral.
Ooh, I see.
So,
Interesting.
so ostensibly, you can use this to gain moon, even if you don't have any moon at the moment.
I get it. That's the huge thing. I am. So.
And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Because like the standing mechanic is of course a very central mechanic to the whole game, and I guess it is even more central to drafting, because then you have to pay attention which cards you draft so that you make sure you can gain standing in the house that you, or in the faction that you draft cards for. So this is a huge thing for draft, I guess, or I can imagine.
Yes. Certainly.
Was this the first? Was this? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm just pulling some cards which I find interesting to talk about. Mm-hmm. First of all, there's this card that costs 3 and draws you 5 cards, and I think that Netrunner play might be familiar with it, because there is a Netrunner card that does the same thing. This card exists almost in this exact state in the current game. The only difference is that it defeats a follower that costs 3 mythium or less instead of 4 or less. So very similar. This card, so locations were called fortresses.
Yeah.
And this card is super similar to an existing location called the Pit of Despair. They're almost identical. So very similar. This creature is very similar to a current day card called Muhandasat Pilot. The numbers are a bit different, but it's the same ability. Whenever you develop a location, you gain 1 mythium and draw a card. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I have this in my hand.
Ooh!
Which I think you might find familiar.
Mm-hmm. So this was the mine that I've just played, right? But in a little different order and way cheaper. That's interesting. Way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Yeah.
The decks here only had 20 cards in them. And the thing is, I had the idea for the engine of the game, the idea of the round, and you flip the round tracker and all that. And I just wanted to test that. So I threw together 20 cards for each side.
Yeah.
And that's what we played. It's not even a complete game, right? Because you need 30 cards to play right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even less than 20 cards for each side. There's cards in our hand. Yeah, it's about 20 cards for each side. And I just threw them together, and that's what we played.
Wow.
So setting this up took about 4 or 5 hours, I would say.
Woo. Okay, interesting. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing about design. Just get to a prototype as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Don't spend too much time balancing numbers or tweaking things around or adding mechanics or removing mechanics. Just throw a prototype together, get it to the table. If you know your way around Tabletop Simulator, it should be very easy to do it. And even if you don't, just grab some pieces of paper and write stuff down and start playing.
Yes. In the Dark Arcade, Pablo from the Old King's Crown is here, and he asks if you did create a paper prototype before, or if you started in Tabletop Simulator, the first prototype. Is this the first ever existing prototype?
Yes, I've started with Tabletop Simulator.
Interesting.
Most of the playtesting was done online. Wow. There is some playtesting that was done in paper. So I have multiple prototypes that I printed, including something very similar to that. And the paper playtesting was done just to see how the game feels physically. There's always the physical aspects of gaining stuff, losing stuff, moving cards around, flipping the round tracker. I wanted to see how these things feel and this is why we went into paper. But for anything balance related and the flow of the game and so on, almost exclusively online.
Super interesting. Okay, but it also makes sense that you do, yeah. Or would you say it doesn't matter, or is it just because of the immunological situation that we had, or would you even prefer to do it online?
So part of it was the COVID pandemic,
Yeah. Sure.
that meeting in person was just more difficult.
Yeah.
Another aspect was geographical distance. When I started designing, I played with some of my best friends, and they don't live anywhere close. One of them lives in California, and the other lives in Washington, D.C. So it was the way to test. A third one lives in Brooklyn, which is pretty far from Fort Lee. You would be surprised. And the last one lives in Denver, in Columbus. So there was no way for us to meet in person. And also, when you go online, you can just prototype much more rapidly. So if you have any changes, you just do them in the spreadsheet, you move them into Tabletop Simulator, and you play the next version the following day, instead of having to print and cut and put into sleeves and so on. It's just much faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I have a last topic that I would love to go over with you, which is the art.
Sure.
So maybe we could reload the current version.
So before we do, let's go back to the spreadsheets for a sec.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you haven't. Yes,
Yes.
of course. Spreadsheet time again.
So this is the art spreadsheet.
Ooh.
And I can guarantee you it is a million times more organized than it was in the beginning. But if you do plan to commission art, I recommend you set up something like this as soon as possible.
Okay.
Just so you can follow up with everything that's going on. Full disclosure, there is a column which I deleted, and that was the fee. I didn't want to show the fee each artist took because it's unfair towards them.
Get it?
But you're welcome to reach out to them. I'm sure they're going to give you the same quote.
Yeah.
And this spreadsheet has a few critical aspects to it. First of all, did I pay the artist? Because some artists charge before they start working. Some charge in 2 installments, one at the beginning, one at the end. Some charge 50% when they give you the sketches and 50% when they're done. And some artists charge when they're done.
Mm-hmm.
And many artists don't remember if they charged you or not. Not because they're trying to scam you or anything, but just to talk about the stereotypical artist persona, many of the artists just forgot that I didn't pay them yet, and a couple of artists accidentally double charged me.
Ooh.
So make sure to have a column where you tracked how much money you paid to each artist and how much you promised to pay them. It's really important. The second important part is the description, and you'll notice that all of these are presentations. I actually have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel that talk about the commissioning process, but these are briefs that include the usually 1 or 2 paragraphs, the visual language, the inspiration with all the references, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
So it's really important to have these standardized as soon as you can, just to make sure you have a uniform visual language. And the third part I want to highlight are these different stages with the dates. And that allows you to see when did you send the brief, when did you get the sketches, when did you get the colored version, when did you get the final version. One, to make sure that things are coming along. Sometimes artists get stuck and you need to email them and say, wait, where's my stuff? I really need it. I have a game to develop. And also, it helps you identify which one of your artists are really fast. And I'm happy that Agustin Castro is the first one. One, because he's awesome. If you need an artist for your game, reach out to Agustin right now. He is brilliant.
Okay.
And two, this shows how amazingly fast Agustin is. And just using the first card, Kalari Adept, I sent him the brief on August 18th. The card was done on August 23rd. So it took him 5 days to go from the brief through 4 different sketches, the coloring, and the final. So I know that if I need a piece of art quickly, there are some artists that are going to deliver on that. Just to clarify, this is not to say that the other artists are not good. They're excellent as well. I'm super happy with everyone I worked with. But sometimes you just need a piece of art quickly, and you want to know who are the artists that are going to give you that. Also, the other side of the coin, I'm not going to scroll down, but some artists took 2 or 3 months to send me a sketch. So needless to say, if you want to work with them, you need to factor that into your calculation.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, and you have.
And with that being said, go ahead.
No, go. Yes, let's get back to the to the game. Wait a second. Now you can, if you want to, you can switch back to your camera, because now I am back at it, so that we can see you again, and we are at the table.
Oh wait, I need to get my shirt on again. No, I'm joking. Let me turn this on.
I don't know. I think topless is okay for Twitch.
Maybe.
Just to
so Jamie is asking. So first of all, Jamie is pointing out that true and false is not adequate for the economy column. I agree. It's not. It was a very rough starting point for making sure that every guild has their own amount of economy. And they are also pointing out that the sketch date is blank for some of the illustrations. That's because the artist did such a good job that we could skip some stages. So I didn't scroll down to Emilio Rodriguez, but with Emilio we skipped some stages just because they were so good. We're not seeing my face on the stream. We're seeing some sort of screenshot. I don't know if it's fixable or not.
You should be on again.
Oh, Jamie is pointing out that true and false is not adequate for the paid column. That's correct. There is another column that says how much I actually paid them for those that are being paid in installments. I didn't show it because I didn't want to show how much money I paid each artist. That seemed unfair.
Sure. So we went with true just, and that's good. I think I have to call you again. Just a second, because to re-establish your camera.
Oh, sure. Let's do it.
Bye. Hello. There you are.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
Perfect. Hey, everyone.
Nice to have you back, Elli. So, I mean, first of all, it is beautiful to look at this art. And now that you've shown that there are actually a lot of different artists at play here, the first thing that comes to that astounds me is how well balanced the art overall is. So it is one art style, you could say. There is no card that you could immediately say, okay, this is by another artist. It is very homogeneous, I would even say. So how did you do that? How did you make those artists do that?
Apparently, there's a whole profession called art direction.
Ooh.
And I thought that you can find freelancers for everything, but apparently you cannot find freelancer art directors, because when a company hires them, they keep them busy for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because art direction is just so hard. Mm-hmm. So I had to become the amateur art director for Worldbreakers. Mm-hmm. And I am really lucky to have stumbled upon some amazing artists that could establish the identity of the game. And one of the first artists I worked with was Emilio Rodriguez, whom I know from Netrunner. I commissioned Emilio in the past for Netrunner fan art. And when I reached out to him with my game, he was very available and nice and accommodating. And he pretty much established some of the initial looks. The second artist was Agustin, whom I mentioned, and he has a very particular style that I started from. Once I had this core of artists established, and once I commissioned them to create 3, 4, 5 pieces, I could use these pieces as guidelines for all future illustrations.
Yeah.
And whenever a new artist would come on board, I would use these as the inspiration, these starting points. As the inspiration. And it really helped to create this uniform visual language. There are a few pieces of art that I commissioned and didn't end up in the game. It's a bit painful. Some of them were pretty expensive, but they just didn't fit the vision. So I ended up discarding them. Thankfully, it's not too many. It's only I think 3 or 4 of them. Although when you line up the numbers, it ends up being about $1,000 of illustrations that just didn't end up in the game. I'm actually going to make a blog post about a couple of them.
Cool.
So yeah, there was a few illustrations discarded down the line, but it was really about finding these 2 good artists and using their initial illustrations as the baseline for everyone else.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, okay. So, but that is of course then the second question after that one is of course, when did you decide which theme you were going for? Was it simultaneously to having the idea for the game, or did the theme come afterwards?
The theme came afterwards.
Okay.
I knew that the game is going to be based on our world in some way, and it's going to incorporate fantastical elements. The idea of alternate history came shortly thereafter, and a good friend of mine is an amateur historian, and he looked for periods in history that made sense. One, because they were very dense, let's say, with stuff. Like a lot of things happened during this period. And 2, these things did not happen in Europe or concern Europe in any way.
Yes.
One of the goals was really to go somewhere else that doesn't have knights and castles and kings and queens and all that.
Not to make the 100th game of those, you mean?
Right. No farming in Germany.
Yes.
And the 14th and 13th century Asia really came up as a good period in that regard. It was really this Goldilocks moment of interesting characters and interesting events and all this connection from China all the way to Europe that existed. So it was really a good fit to all of these boxes that I wanted to check.
Get it. Yeah, makes sense. There, of course, is also the representation question always. And did you have... because I can see, or it seems like maybe you didn't think about it, but it seems like you are very aware of representation decisions in the process of, like when I look at the art and the balancing of gender, for example. Did the theme accommodate you as well, or did you have to bend it a little bit? What was there a conflict, or did it go smoothly?
So one of the interesting things about humanity is that about half of us are women, no matter the historical period.
Yes.
So there were a few things going on. The first one, at some point, I added a gender column to the spreadsheet. So every card had a gender assigned to it. And full disclosure, they're male and female, like they're men and women.
Yeah.
With there's some other genders thrown in my head canon, but the spreadsheet was simplified to two binaries.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I identify as non-binary, so maybe I should have been more directed about it. But from an early point, the spreadsheet had genders for each one of the cards, and I made sure that the ratio is like 70 to 30 in favor of women, just to make sure that we have that balance there.
Yes.
And a second big part of it is the briefs that I sent to the artists, and I was very intent on the different physical aspects of the characters. This is a woman. She's in her late 50s, and she's Indian, and her body structure is curvy, let's say, or full, or whatever. So if you are not intent in what you're telling your artists, you're going to get white men who are super hot.
Yep.
Now, I have nothing against super hot white men. But
nice to
you do want, yes, of course. You do want some other stuff in it, and you need to ask for it from your artists.
Yes. Yes.
In particular, when it comes to non-whites, you have to be specific. You need to tell them, I want someone who's Persian. I want someone who's Indian. I want someone who's Mongolian.
Yes.
And you need to supply them with the references. So I have Pinterest galleries with a whole bunch of illustrations of Persian men and Persian women and Mongol men and Mongol women and so on. So I could send it to the artists. Some artists don't know how to draw non-whites, and it's really important to be careful of it. I won't name a particular card, but we did have one card which includes a Chinese character, and the artist sent back what looked like a very inappropriate caricature of a Chinese person. And it's not the artist's fault. I think the artist doesn't know how to draw Chinese people. I'm fortunate to have a good friend who's an artist herself, and I sent her the illustration, and she just sent back a list of instructions, like the eyebrows need to look like this, and the hair need to look like this, and the mouth and everything. And I passed it to the artist, and he fixed it. So a lot of back and forth with the artists, giving them the instructions you want to be in your game, and being mindful of how they draw everything, because they're going to succumb to stereotypes, and you're going to succumb to stereotypes.
Yes.
So make sure to have a process in place to avoid them.
Yes, because we've learned them way before we even thought about them. So yeah, that is super interesting. Super interesting that you say you have to how you went about to make sure to avoid it.
Right.
Cool. Thank you very much, Elli. We have to close it down right now. Yeah, you have a next meeting in 4 minutes.
Unfortunately, yes. But this was fun. Thank you for having me.
It was so great. Thank you so much for being here. And it was not only fun, it was also super helpful. The spreadsheets and the talk as well. I think I will keep the spreadsheet column in our show because it was just, I didn't know numbers and columns could be so fun.
Yes, Kickstarter spreadsheets are important. I had a couple of more. Sadly, we didn't have time to talk about them, but track everything, especially the playtests.
Yes.
Have that thing logged down so you can go back to it.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and thank everybody else who was here. Maybe give us a follow if you haven't already. Thanks Detailed and Dunch for the follows already. And Elli, I will track get Worldbreakers on Kickstarter as long as you can. Will you be able to get it? Will you go to shops as well, or is this the last moment to get Worldbreakers for some time?
I'm already having preliminary discussions with distributors, so I hope we're going to get to shops a couple of months after the Kickstarter is delivered.
Okay.
So backers are going to get their games first, and distribution is going to come afterwards.
Yes. Fingers crossed. So I release you, Elli. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see each other around. Bye.
Thanks, Sven. Bye-bye.
Bye.